So heckin' scary, right? Oh, I'm not in focus. Oh, that turns me into a ghost. Yeah, if I go, ooh, now I'm all sort of mysterious and blurred because I'm a ghost and you can't see me properly. The camera can't detect me. Maybe I'm part vampire. Maybe I'm a ghost. Maybe it's like ectoplasmic interference on the screen. Ooh, maybe, who knows? Or maybe the focus is just wrong. Maybe if I zoom in, or what if I zoom too far out? Now I'm a reverse ghost. Ooh. Okay, that's enough of that. Hi everyone, welcome to the stream. Hope you're all having a wonderful Spooktober. As you know very well, we are a rather wholesome channel generally. We don't tend to go in for horror or heckin' spook very much. So this isn't going to be a particularly heckin' spooky stream. We're going slightly spooky. We're not going to be playing scary things with zombies and stuff. We're not going to be watching horror movies or anything like that. But what we are going to be doing is we're going to be reading very spooky stories from Tamriel with my dear friend Lucien the Dragonborn. We are wandering back in time to before the epic conclusion of Lucien the Dragonborn, to a Tales and Tallows evening in the safe house to read some stories. And I've picked a selection of spooky books that I've found in Skyrim. And I thought we could read them. Including one of the ones that I wrote myself for Darkend. And yeah, I thought we could read them all out. And then you guys could suggest any other spooky ones that you'd want to read. And it could all be very mysterious and spooky. And atmospheric. And I thought that might be fun. So, as I said, we're going to be telling spooky stories this evening through Skyrim, and to do that, I thought we would have a super spooky lighting setup. So, are you ready? Are you ready for me to transition to spooky mode? You ready to see? Because I want to take a screen grab of this so we can put it on the on Facebook to let people know and whatever. Ooh, ooh. Welcome to the heckin' spook. I'm a heckin' spooky ghost here to spook you. Ooh. So there we go. But first, the special surprise. For I have received a parcel that I have to be very careful to hold the right way around so that you guys can't see my address on it. Here we are. It's a box. Mysterious box. What could it be? What could be in the box? What's in the box? Welcome to the new hit game show. What's in the box? 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 Could it be a cat? It's not a cat. Could it be a fish? It's not a fish. Is it a dragon? It's not a dragon. It's some tissue. There's tissue in the box. Woohoo! And that's it. And there's a note, which is very lovely. So this parcel, for those of you who don't know, is from the wonderful Anxious Stitcher here on the Lucien Discord and often in our Twitch audience. Look at that. Oh my word. Look at it. It's Plushie. He's so soft. Oh, he's so soft. Look at him. Look at the eyes and the little boots and his fur. Thank you so much, Stitcher. This is the best thing. I love it to bits. It's a little tiny fluffy. Oh, my new best friend. And what else have we got in here? We've got other little things. We've got some other little parcels. Where can I sit him so you guys can still see him? Can you sit on the microphone for now? Can you perch there? If I pop your feet in there. Nope. Shelf. He's a bit out of focus. Ah, Plushie! No! Disaster! He's alright. He's fine. He's fine. You're fine. You're fine. He's fine. He's fine. It's fine. It's fine. He survived. Right. Well, you're going to sit kind of there. Like that. See if I can adjust the focus slightly so you can see him a bit better while still seeing my face. There he is. Okay. What else have we got in the parcel? I didn't drop him. He jumped. He's an energetic little lad. Right. What else have we got in here? It is a sweet roll! No, not real. That is so cute. I love it. Look at that. Let me do the focus. Look at that. Look how well made that is. Isn't that cool? Oh, love it. Right. You can have that. What else have we got? What else have we got? We got another one. We've got another one, people. Have another one. And there's something else in here. What could this one be? It's all beautifully wrapped, by the way. You know, that sounds like a Lucien line, Ace. I'm just ripping the tissue paper. Because I don't have any hand-eye coordination. What is this? Oh, look at these! Look at these! Not for me, obviously. But come here you. Come on, lad. Now, is there a method to this? Because I don't want to break anything. There we go. There we go. He's ready. He's ready. He's ready to face the spook. He's the best friend. So, sadly, none of you can get these. Because this was custom made by Stitcher. And sadly, it's not something we can pop on the merch store. But, it's a tiny Lucien with goggles and sweet rolls, and I love him to bits. And that fur is so soft. And he's real, and he's come from my brain, and I'm holding him in my hands. I mean, I had this before with the merch, and it was super weird, but actually with a tiny little cuddly, it's the best thing. Thank you so much for making that happen, Stitcher. Oh, he's going to sit in the background then. Remove the fur cloak. What happens if I remove the fur cloak? How do I remove the coat? Does it pop? I don't want to damage it. Oh, it's a button. I'm being super careful not to damage it at all. Because he's the best. Stop struggling. I'm only taking your cloak off. It's okay. What's that? You think everyone should make sure to follow Joseph's Twitch channel and subscribe to him on YouTube? That's such a good idea. You're so right. They should. Right. I'm getting that. There we go. And here he is. Underneath the fur. With his little shirt. Oh, look at the back. Look at that. Look at the stitching on that. Isn't that gorgeous? So smart. What's that? What's that, Plushian? Everyone should buy a copy of Lonely Worlds, which is available on Amazon for how much? 99 cents? What a bargain! Yeah, they totally should. I'm going to put his little cloak back on. Anxious Stitcher is best Stitcher. Give me a minute. You need to wear your cloak or you'll get cold. You'll get cold. Right. There we go. Right, matey. You can pop your goggles off because we're not going outside at the moment. And you can pop back there on the back shelf. Like that. There we go. There he is. Hello there. My name is Lucien Flavius. Happy tales and tallows, one and all. I'm here this evening, in my lovely, cosy, safe house, to tell you all of my favourite spooky stories from around Tamriel. I've put together a little bit of a collection here in my library. These are the stories we have today. Don't worry about the curator's guide or Cassia's plea ×2. I simply wasn't able to drop those no matter how hard I tried. So we're going to be ignoring those. But here are the rest of the tales that we'll be perusing this evening. To get you all in the spooky mood. Now bear with me a moment while I sort of rearrange my whole desktop setup to try and fit everything in. Oops, don't do that yet. We're not ready for that yet. No, that's all going to fall apart. Okay, we're going to do it like that. Right. Spook time. Ooh. 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 Right. Let's get started. So we're going to start with... Let's go with... Ghost Stories of Tamriel, Volume 2. Which is from the Kaidan mod. And it's very spooky. This one is called The Painter. And it's by Galatia Olivia. I may be pronouncing that terribly wrong. Anyway, let's get started. There lived a painter who owned a magic brush that could bring whatever it painted to life. The painter would create worlds within his canvases, fill them with beautiful creatures, and dive into his canvases to explore them. A black cat lived at the painter's house. It was a wretched, mean thing that would tear at furniture, capture birds, and torture mice. Try as he might, he could not get rid of the cat. It followed him from room to room, always watching with its crimson gaze, snarling and hissing. The painter was a kind man who could not bring himself to kill the cat. He decided one day to create a special painting, a forest of shadows to explore, and lured the cat into the painting, trapping it there. Satisfied the cat would be happy in its new home, the painter went to bed. When he woke the next morning, he found his canvases had changed. The little birds he'd drawn had their wings ripped off and their necks broken. The mice were torn open and bleeding. Furious and heartbroken, the painter took a knife to the canvas he'd drawn the cat into and shredded it to pieces. But the cat appeared in another painting, staring with crimson eyes. Canvas after canvas the painter hacked apart, trying to cut those staring eyes out of the cat. Finally, seeing his life's work destroyed, the painter understood what he'd done, and that there was no escaping the cat's crimson gaze. So he cut out his own eyes, never having to look upon the cat again. The end. A short one. Very spoopy. Spoopy indeed. Ooh. What do you think? It's very short, but I think it's quite chilling. I actually considered that one for the original Joseph Reed's thing, because it was one of the first books Lucien found. I mean, I found in the playthrough. But then I decided that it was a little bit too spooky for these particular adventures. It was a bit too much. So, saved it for this one instead. Macon's cat is staring at them! Good evening, a most sovereign lady. And welcome to the spooky Halloween stream of spookiness. Ooh. Right, next book. We might get through these all a bit too quickly, in which case we'll have to find something else spooky to do. But right, so let's do the thing. We're gonna go with Wabbajack. Little boys shouldn't summon up the forces of eternal darkness unless they have an adult supervising. I know. But on that sunny night of the 5th of First Seed, I didn't want an adult. I wanted Hermaeus Mora, the Daedra of knowledge, learning, gums, and varnishes. You see, I was told by a beautiful, large-breasted man who lived under the library in my hometown that the 5th of First Seed was Hermaeus Mora's night, and if I wanted the Ogma Infinium, the Book of Knowledge, I had to summon him. When you're the new King of Solitude, every bit of knowledge helps. So, normally, you need a Witch's Coven or a Mage's Guild, or at least matching pillowcase and sheets to invoke a Prince of Oblivion. The man under the library showed me how to do it myself. He told me to wait until the storm was at its height before shaving the cat. I've forgotten the rest of the ceremony, it doesn't matter. Someone appeared who I thought was Hermaeus Mora. The only thing that made me somewhat suspicious was Hermaeus Mora, from what I read, was a big blobby multi-eyed clawed monstrosity, and this guy looked like a waistcoated banker. Also, he kept calling himself Sheogorath, not Hermaeus Mora. Still, I was so happy to have successfully summoned Hermaeus Mora, these inconsistencies did not bother me. He had me do some things that didn't make any sense to me, beyond the mortal scope, breadth, and ken, I suppose. And then his servant happily gave me something he called Wabbajack. 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 Maybe the Wabbajack is the Book of Knowledge. Maybe I'm smarter because I know cats can be bats, can be rats, can be hats, can be gnats, can be that's, can be thises. And that doors can be bores, can be snores, can be floors, can be roars, can be spores, can be yours, can be mine. I must be smart, for the interconnective system is very clear to me. Then why, or wherefore, do people keep calling me mad? Wabbajack. 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 How did you find that, Plushian? What were your thoughts? Did you enjoy? Yes, Joseph, I thought it was a really good reading. Why, thank you, Plushian. There we go. Story. Did I rehearse reading that? No, I'm improving. That was sight reading, but it's good fun. I have read it before, a long time ago. We did stumble. We fumbled the, we fumbled this sentence, but he kept calling himself Sheogorath, not Hermaeus Mora. But apart from that, it was alright. Righto! Another story! Let's do it. Wabbajack. It's the Wabbajack. The Wabbajack! Cheese for everyone! Right, okay. What we're going to go with now is we're going to go with The Storm and Her Captain by this bloke. Joseph Russell. Who's he? Have you heard of Joseph Russell, Plushian? You heard of him? Sorry, I keep clicking the wrong thing. You know, no, I don't know. Don't know anything about him, really. Some hack, I suppose. Probably. Anyway, let's see what drivel he's written. The Storm and Her Captain by Joseph Russell. This one's a little bit longer. Right. It was the 15th day of our voyage through the Sea of Ghosts that second mate Mattis sighted land where no land should be. The weather had turned, the clouds were seething, and all of us were prepared for a difficult time of it until the storm passed us by. The waters north of Skyrim were known for their sudden, unpredictable rages, so none of us were green enough to assume it'd be plain sailing all the way back to Faros. All the same, it had looked to be clear and pleasant when we rose from our bunks that morning, so it was disappointing to see our luck hadn't lasted. Navigator Robson had always been an extremely reliable man to have on board, and we'd yet to see the day he'd guided us off course. Some of the lads used to joke about him having magic in his veins, scrying our journey from port to port and claiming it was all down to his solid training and clear head. I couldn't comment either way myself, save that I trusted Robson with all the lives on the Windhammer, and so did the captain. Which was why it was so surprising that Mattis reported what he did. He'd been scouring the sky to the north of us for a trace of blue with his spyglass, when he made out what he was adamant was a line of dark cliffs not 10 miles away. I wrested the glass from him to confirm what he was seeing, and though it took me a little while to make them out myself, I can only report that I saw a distant shadow above the angry rolling of the sea. What in the world? I murmured to myself, steadying the glass to try and get a clearer image of what exactly I was looking at. But the Windhammer crested a sudden wave, and I had to grab onto the railing to save myself from tumbling to the deck. When I next lifted the glass to my eye, all I saw was the sea. That was land, sure as anything, Mattis insisted. I kept my face deadpan. Sure, we'd both seen something, there was no denying that, but land out here? Impossible. These were open waters on any map, and it wasn't like this was the first time we'd made the journey. It couldn't be land, I assured him. There just isn't any. Then what? He asked me, genuine confusion on his face. Perhaps we imagined it, I suggested, though I didn't believe that myself for 1 second. Before we could comment further on what we'd seen, the sky erupted with a tumultuous crashing, cold white lightning forking through the air like the trident of a sea god. Instinctively we ducked, and a burst of wind whipped my hat from my head and cast it over the side. I swore, belatedly clutching my balding scalp, and Mattis chuckled. I silenced him with a stony glare. "It's getting heavier!" a voice cried from behind us, and I turned, standing to attention as the captain approached. "It is indeed, sir," I agreed. "Were we anywhere near shelter? I'd suggest dropping anchor and waiting it out, but..." I gestured vaguely at the uninterrupted waters. "What about what we saw?" Mattis couldn't stop himself from saying, and I grimaced as the captain raised an eyebrow at the lad. "What you saw?" the old Redguard asked. "Land, sir! About 10 miles to the north." "We're not certain it was land," I cut in quickly. "We both saw something. But we were mistaken, I'm sure." "I'll be the judge of that," the captain said, and held out a hand for the spyglass, which I gave him. Another wave rocked the ship, spray licking up over the side and mingling with the rain. Mattis and I had to steady ourselves again, but the captain seemed unfazed by the lurching of the deck. "Anything?" I asked after a long moment. The captain lowered the spyglass and looked at me, and those deep, dark eyes held a fear I hadn't seen in the old man in all the years I'd sailed under him. "Set a course north," he commanded. "Sir?" I blinked, thrown by the order. "You heard me! North!" And the captain strode away. The decision perplexed me for a number of reasons, not least that the cliffs we'd thought we'd seen by no means guaranteed any shelter at all from the storm. If anything, we were just as likely to dash ourselves to pieces on the rocks, assuming, of course, that there was anything there at all. But I'm not a man to question orders. No one survives at sea very long by doing that. The captain had our confidence, and he'd earned that over years of firm, sensible leadership. If he wanted us to head north, then north we'd go. It was slow going, the howling wind throwing us from port to starboard, over and over as we tacked our way towards whatever we'd seen. It was about an hour before I spotted it again. Larger now, looming out of the storm. Definitely cliffs, and as far as I could tell, some kind of structure visible above them. That suggested civilization. Perhaps the captain's decision wasn't as unwise as I thought. I simply don't understand it, Navigator Robson was saying a little while later, as I ducked my head below decks where he and the captain stood over a table covered in papers. This landmass isn't on any of the charts. We should be in open waters. It's possible the storm's blown us off course, but even taking that scenario to its absolute extreme, there's no way we could be seeing what we're seeing. A small island, I could just about believe, but cliffs of this scale, utterly impossible. The captain was silent, staring grimly at the circle of pins Robson had driven into the map to mark our possible locations. "We're nearing land, sir," I said, and he looked up suddenly, startled by my presence. "Looks like there's some kind of jetty? We might be able to moor." The captain nodded, registering none of the surprise the rest of the lads had shown when we first spotted the wooden outcrop at the base of the cliff. "Bring us in," he told me, and I nodded, wondering what he wasn't telling us. We had to come around twice before we managed to lash our ropes to the bollards along the edge of the little jetty. We were the only ship moored there, and though the storm had worsened still, and the jetty was moving almost as much as the windhammer, it felt good to be lashed to something relatively secure. Still, the wind and rain were bitterly cold, and the icy air seeped through the planks of the deck, and had us shivering where we crouched, in the hold, hidden from the raging weather. "I say, we ought to try that house up there," one of the lads said, and there was a general nodding of agreement. Someone had carved a set of steps into the cliffside leading all the way from the jetty to the structure perched like a great black crow on the top. Bet they've got a nice warm fire inside. I was half inclined to agree, but something about that house up there didn't sit right with me. Perhaps it was the uncharted nature of this place, or the fact that it had appeared out of nowhere and vanished when I'd looked again, but I couldn't shake the feeling that somehow we were unwelcome here. It wasn't my call, though. The captain decided for us. "I'm taking a small party up to the house," the old Redguard declared, stomping down the steps into the hold. "Saul, Mattis, I want you with me. The rest of you can wait here until we send for you." I heard a few grumbles of dissent at that, but none of the lads was brave enough to speak up against the captain's orders. We might have been a rowdy bunch, but we were well trained, priding ourselves on our discipline in the face of adversity. And so it was that the three of us, wrapped in cloaks and skins to protect us from the storm, found ourselves climbing step after step up that strange, dark cliff towards the house waiting for us on top. The stones that formed the steps were strangely regular, carved by some precise technique into smooth rectangles, each just slightly higher than a man could comfortably stride. None of us spoke on the way up, our faces buried in our cloaks, and the wind too loud for us to have heard each other anyway. It took us a quarter of an hour to reach the top. Strangely enough, the house was smaller than it had looked from the bottom, with only a single floor and 2 shuttered windows. A thin coil of smoke trickled from a chimney at the corner of its thatched roof before vanishing into the wind, suggesting warmth, if nothing else, waited inside. The captain rapped on the wooden door, and we waited. No one answered it for what felt like an age, and I was about to suggest we try again when it swung open without warning. A young girl stood there, in a simple white dress, her hair tied up in pigtails and her feet bare. The captain looked at her without speaking, and Mattis and I hurried to his side, eager to be in out of the cold. "We're sailors moored at your jetty," I started to explain. "We hoped we might come in out of this wretched weather." The girl looked at me curiously, but didn't move or answer until an elderly voice called them from inside. "Let them in, Jess!" The girl hurried away into the dark of the house, and we gratefully followed, hit by a wall of warmth as we stepped through the doorway. I pulled it shut behind us, anxious not to let the heat out. The inside of the house was small but cosy, a table set for 2 on one side, a rug on the floor, a fire crackling in the corner, and seated beside it, an old woman wrapped in blankets in a deep wooden rocking chair. Come in, she called to us. "Come warm yourselves by the fire." Internally, I was slightly surprised at her hospitality, considering we were total strangers, and that this woman and the girl I assumed were her granddaughter were totally defenseless. We hurried forwards, palms outstretched to the warm, babbling incoherent thanks and trying not to drip all over her rug. The old woman watched us, a thin smile of mirth on her face. She glanced at the captain. "It's been too long, Melkor," she said and grinned, revealing several missing teeth. I was stunned. You know each other?" "Of course," the old woman crooned, but her eyes didn't leave the captain, who stood motionless behind where Mattis and me knelt. "We're old friends, of a sort." "But that means," Mattis said, his face confused and a little hurt, "you knew this place was here?" "I did," the captain acknowledged. I apologize for misleading you." "But why?" I asked, uncomprehending. "Because I asked him to," the old woman said, waving a hand dismissively. "Are you ready to repay your debt, Melkor?" After a pause, the old Redguard I knew as the captain nodded, his face unreadable. "What debt?" I started to ask, getting to my feet, but the captain raised a finger to his lips, and loyalty ingrained beneath my skin, I complied. I heard a padding of bare feet, and the little girl who'd answered the door stood at the captain's side, gently taking his hand. "See to it, Jess," the old woman said, and the girl led my captain across the room to a door which I'd assumed had led to where she and her grandmother had slept. She opened it, and they stepped through, the door closing behind them. I made to follow, but the old woman gripped my arm, not hard, but with enough deliberate strength to stop me. "Let them go," she implored me. "Only if you tell us what's going on," Mattis insisted, standing next to me. "But of course," the old woman nodded and smiled. "Your captain, Melkor, has been here before." I'd gathered as much, but let her continue. "A decade ago to this day, he came here seeking shelter from a storm not unlike this one. A storm which, had I allowed events to take their course, would have taken his life." That was a strange turn of phrase, and I opened my mouth to comment on it, but the old woman talked right over me. "I offered him an alternative. 10 years to sail his seas and continue to live his life. 10 years to earn the money to settle his wife and daughter in relative comfort. Then he would return, and the storm would take its due." "Witchcraft," Mattis breathed, anger and fear lacing his voice in equal measure. My hand dropped to my belt, closing on the hilt of my sword. The old woman laughed. "Call it what you will. I saved your captain's life, and now he has repaid the debt." "He's not paying you anything," I growled, and marched over to the door the girl had led him through. I grabbed the handle and pulled it open, only to be knocked backwards by a sheet of rain. The door led straight outside, a few paces from the edge of the cliff. There had been another room. I'd glimpsed it through the door when the girl had opened it. Otherwise, we'd surely have heard the rain or felt the draft. The storm was as loud as it had ever been. Of the girl and the captain, there was no sign. I let the door close and turned back to the woman, my sword in my hand. "Where are they? What have you done with him, witch?" The old woman shook her head sadly. "I have done nothing. The storm has taken what it was owed." "You've killed him!" "I gave him life!" the woman hissed, the lines of her face deepening as she leaned forward in her chair. Mattis drew his own sword, and the two of us levelled them at her throat. "I would offer you both the same." She turned sharply to Mattis, ignoring the sharpened steel hovering inches from her chin. "You, Mattis. How would you like to see Beck again, She's waiting for you back on Pharos. I can give you 10 years with her." Mattis stiffened at the mention of his betrothed's name. The fact that she knew it at all stank of witchcraft to both of us. "I am deaf to your lies, witch," Mattis said through gritted teeth. "Your magic cannot tempt me." "And you, Saul," she said harshly to me, her eyes meeting mine with an intensity that turned me cold. "I know what you want. Do you think that'll happen if the Windhammer sinks tonight? I can give you what you've prayed for. I can promise it to you." I froze, my soul naked in that moment beneath that penetrating gaze. This woman, whatever she was, knew me. Knew every thought I'd ever had and every dream I'd ever let myself forget. Indecision gripped me. Witchcraft this might have been, but this woman at once was both offering my greatest hopes and threatening the lives of all the men in my ship. This woman had power and could deliver what she promised. I knew it as truly as I had ever known anything. It was surely my duty to cut her down where she sat, and yet I could not. "Say yes, Saul," she whispered to me. "Don't let this storm be the end of you." And compelled by some primal conviction that to this day I do not fully comprehend, I opened my mouth to form that single word, but I never got the chance. With a howl of anguish, Mattis lunged forward with his sword, the tip striking towards the old woman's throat. The sea was calm when I made my way down those steps to where the Windhammer waited, the lads on board grinning and waving as I stepped on board. "Looks like it just blew over," Robson laughed as I stepped on board. "But where are Mattis and the captain?" "They're staying," I said quietly. Robson looked at me, not understanding. "They're staying," I repeated. "I can't explain, but we have to leave now." It took me some time to convince him. I lied a little, but it was what I had to do to get the Windhammer sailing again, away from those dark cliffs, towards Pharos, where our lives waited for us, where my children waited for me. It had been some time since I'd last seen their faces, since their mother had taken them away, told me they weren't safe with me, told me I couldn't look after them. She wouldn't listen. She never did. I told her she was wrong. I was their father. How could I ever hurt them? It had been an accident, I insisted. I hadn't meant to. But now I knew my luck had changed. She'd let me see them. We could start again. Rebuild our family. I could leave the Windhammer behind me. For a while, anyway. I looked out at the sea, so calm and still. Nothing like it had been when we first came to this place mere hours ago. I gripped the railing and winced as Mattis's face arose unbidden in my mind. Shock plastered across his features as my sword emerged from the small of his back. The way the old woman had smiled at me as I'd said the words she wanted to hear. I watched the cliffs recede into the distance, knowing full well they wouldn't be there when next this ship sailed these waters. I wouldn't see them again. Not for 10 years. The end. Sorry, my laptop turned off halfway through that. And I couldn't read what you guys were saying in the chat, so I'll have to catch up. Hope you enjoyed. What did you think? Plushian? Did you like it? Blank stare. But I think he did. I think he's stunned. To be honest, it's probably not suitable for you. You're a bit young. He's only a few weeks old. So, yeah, right, okay. What did I miss in the chat? Loads in the chat. You guys were chatting away. Original fiction for the win. Wes Johnson. Ace, this makes me really excited to start reading Lonely Worlds. Very exciting. I hope you enjoy it. I'd love to do an audiobook version of it, yeah. Unmoddy Florida, why do you spill your beans? What? What does that mean? Time to seek the name of Mr. Eaton. Again, what? Lucien is a delicious friend, such a wholesome fellow. I'm delighted. But yes, this was this was from Darkend. So I wrote this specifically for Darkend, and you can find the book in the game, in Darkend, it's in the warehouse. So if you play that, you'll find it there. Dear Esther vibes. I've not done Dear Esther, but I've heard good things about it. There we go, and I've caught up with the chat now. Oh, and you guys did enjoy it. Nice things. What does Ruffy mean? Is Ruffy a good thing? Thanks, Chevelle. Thanks, guys. Maybe you should just do a weekly stream day where you read books, because that was captivating. I can't. Well, I can only read books that are. Sorry, I'll go big screen so you can see me. I can only read books that I have the copyright to, or that Bethesda have the copyright to. So I can only read books from Skyrim, or ones that I've written. Hence, I could read that story because I wrote it. But I can't just read anyone's books, because copyright and stuff is a problem. Oh, sorry, I didn't go big screen. There we go. There's big screen. But yeah, Skyrim. I mean, I can do Skyrim book day if that's something that you like. If you like these sorts of things. I mean, I was starting a Lucien Joseph Reed's. Well, there's Joseph Reed's, and then there was a Lucien Reed's kind of thing that happened where we did the diary of what's his name, the bad guy from Saints and Seducers, and I want to do more of those as part of the Lucien the Dragonborn series, kind of. And I want to do more Joseph Reed's where I read my own stuff. I'll probably do a proper recorded version of Storm and Her Captain, of that story I just read to you guys, as a YouTube video of its own, because that'd be fun. And I want to do that with some of my other stories, maybe an extract of Lonely Worlds, like the first chapter or two or something. I like reading stuff. It's fun. Probably be better to do it with a bit more practice than this, because I'm just winging it with stuff I haven't read in ages. I'd forgotten how a Storm and Her Captain went, actually. That story, I'd forgotten the twist at the end. I'd forgotten that Saul wasn't necessarily the best chap. I couldn't remember what his characterization was. So that surprised me when I was reading it as well. Because a long time ago I wrote that. A couple of years? I think it was a couple of years. Yeah, I wrote it before Lucien released. And I haven't really read it since. So, yeah. We're going to go with Horror of Castle Xyr. Lucien Flavius stars in Horror of Castle Xyr, a one-act play by Baloth Cool, the coolest kid on the block. Dramatis Personae. Clavides, captain of the Imperial Guard, Cyrodiilic. Anara, a Dunmer maid. Ullius, a lieutenant of the Imperial Guard, or as you Americans say, a lieutenant. Argonian. And Zol, is that a Z? It looks like a 3. I think it's an italic Z. Zolassa, a young Argonian mage. Right, here we go. Late evening. The play opens in the interior, great entrance hall of a castle in Scath Anud, replete with fine furnishings and tapestries. Torches provide the only illumination. In the center of the foyer is a great... I thought of a thing. Hang on. Wait a sec. Don't go anywhere. I'm trying to... How do I hold this? Here. Could be my burning torch. Spoopy. Right, we'll go again. Torches provide the only illumination. In the center of the foyer is a great iron door, the main entrance to the castle. The main entrance to the castle. The staircase up to the landing above is next to this door. On stage left is the door to the library, which is currently closed. On stage right is a huge suit of armor, 20 feet tall, nearly touching the ceiling of the room. Though no one can be seen, there is the sound of a woman singing, coming through the library door. A loud thumping knock on the iron front door stops the woman singing. Can't read my, no you can't read my. Oh! The door to the library opens, and Anara, a common-looking maid, comes out and hurries to open the front door. Clavides, a handsome man in imperial garb, stands there. Good evening to you, Sergio. I don't know whether I'm pronouncing it right. How do you say that? Is that Seyo? Sergio? I'm going to say Sergio. Good... Oh, no, sorry. It's Anara. Anara needs to say that. It's a girl. Good evening to you, Sergio. Good evening. Is your master at home? No, Sergio. It's only me here. My master, Sergura, Kenna, Telvani, Hordalf Xyr, is at his winter estate. Is there something I can do for you? Possibly. Would you mind if I came in? Not at all, Sergio. Please, may I offer you some Flynn? Clavides comes into the hall and looks around. No, thank you. What's your name? I'm Nara, Sergio. Nara? When did your master leave Scath Anud? More than a fortnight ago. That's why it's only me in the castle. Tonight, the role of Nara will be played by Mickey Mouse. That's why it's only me in the castle, Sergio. All the other servants and slaves who tend to his lordship travel with him. Is there something wrong? Yes, it's a battery one. Right, sorry, into the story. Immersion. Yes, there is. Do you know an Ashlander by the name of Sol Karifa? No, Sergio. I don't know anyone by that name. Then you aren't likely to now. He's dead. He was found a few hours ago dying of frostbite in the Ashlands. He was hysterical and nearly incomprehensible, but among his last words were Castle and Xyr. Dying of frostbite in summertide in the Ashlands? Bevek, that's strange. I suppose it's possible that my master being an Ashlander and my master being of the House Telvanni, well, if you'll pardon me for being flippant, Sergio, I don't think they could have been friends. That is your master's library? Would you mind if I looked in? Please, Sergio, go wherever you want. We got nothing to hide. We're loyal Imperial subjects. As I hear, are all Telvanni. Note from the playwright, this line should be delivered without sarcasm. Trust the audience to laugh. As I hear, are all Telvanni. It never fails, regardless of the politics of the locals. So, you know, you guys must be in hysterics right now. Anyway, Clavides enters the library and looks over the books. The library needs dusting. Yes, Sergio. I was just doing that when you knocked at the door. I'm grateful for that. If you had finished, I wouldn't notice the space in the dust where a rather large book has recently been removed. Your master is a wizard, it seems. No, Sergio. I mean, he studies a lot, but he don't cast no spells. No, Sergio. I mean, he studies a lot, but he don't cast no spells, if that's what you mean by wizard. He's a kenner, went to college and everything. You know, now that I think about it, I know what happened to that book. One of the other kenners from the college been round yesterday and borrowed a couple of books. He's a friend of the master, so I thought it'll be all fine. This kenner? What's his name? Warvin? Could have been. I don't remember. There is a suspected necromancer at the college named Kenner Warvin we arrested last night. We don't know what he was doing at the college. Or the college. We don't know what he was doing at the college or the college. But it was something illegal. That's for certain. Was that the Kenner who borrowed the book? A little fellow, a cripple with a withered leg. No, Sergio. It wasn't the Kenner from yesterday. He was a big fellow who could walk, so I noticed. I'm going to have to look around the rest of the house if you don't mind. Clavides goes up the stairs and delivers the following dialogue from the landing in the rooms above. Anara continues straightening up the downstairs, moving a high-backed bench in front of the armour to scrub the floor. Oh, hang on. Can I ask, Sergio, what you're looking for? Maybe I can help you. Are these all the rooms in the castle? And are all these rooms in the castle? These rooms, they're in the castle, yes, and they're all of them. No secret passages. Oh, Sir Joe! What would Sir Jura Kenner Telvanni Hordalf Xyr want with secret passages? Clavides. Looking at the armour. Oh, no, sorry. Clavides looking at the armour. Your master is a big man. Oh, Sir Joe, don't tease. That's giant armour just for decoration. My master slew that giant 10 years ago and kind of keeps it for a souvenir. Struth, I've turned all Australian now. Oh, that's gone northern now. Me master slew that giant. Very difficult. Anyway. Yes. That's right. I remember hearing something about that when I first took my post here. It was someone named Xyr who killed that giant, but I didn't think the first name was Hordalf. Memory fades, I'm afraid. What was the giant's name? I'm afraid I don't remember, Sergio. I do. It was Torfang. I got out of Torfang's shield. I don't understand, Sergio. Torfang's shield? Clavides runs down the stairs and examines the armor. Sul Kharifa said something about getting out of Torfang's shield. I thought he was just raving out of his mind, but he ain't got a shield, Sergio. Forgot to change my voice there. It was a bit late. Clavides pushes the high-backed bench out of the way, revealing the large mounted shield at the base of the armor. Yes, he does. You covered it up with that bench. I didn't do it on purpose, Sergio. I was just cleaning. I see that armour every day, Sergio, and Bavek, I swear I ain't never noticed the shield before. It's fine, Anara. I believe you. Clavides pushes on the shield, and it pulls back to reveal a tunnel down. It appears that Sidura Kenna Telvani Horde of Xyr does have a need for a secret passage. Could you get me a torch? Bavek, I ain't never seen that before. Anara takes a torch from the wall and hands it to Clavides. Clavides enters the tunnel. Wait here. Anara watches Clavides disappear down the tunnel. She appears agitated and finally runs for the front door. When she opens it, Ollis, an Argonian lieutenant, in Imperial Guard, is standing at the entrance. She screams, "Ah! I'm sorry to frighten you." Not now! Go away! I'm afraid the captain wouldn't like that, miss. You're with the captain? Bless him, mother! Clavides comes out of the tunnel, white-faced. It takes him a few moments to speak. Captain, what's down there? Did you know your master's a necromancer? That your cellar is filled with bodies. Anara faints. Ullis carries her to the bench and lays her down. Let me see, Sergio. No, sorry. Let me see, Sergio. You'll see soon enough. We're going to need every soldier from the post here to cart away all the corpses. Ullis, I've seen enough battles, but I've never seen anything like this. No two are alike. Khajiiti, slowed, Dunmer, Cyrodiil, Breton, Nord, burned alive, poisoned, electrified, melted, torn apart, turned inside out, ripped to shreds, and sewn back up together. You think the Ashlander escaped? That's what happened? I don't know. Why would someone do something like this, Ullis? There is a knock on the door. Hello? Clavides answers it. Hello. A young Argonian woman, Zolassa, is standing, holding a package and a letter. I have a letter for you. Got something I'm supposed to deliver. Your hands only. Let's see here. Looks like that's it. Got to go. Good morning. You're not Lord Xyr, are you? That's my Argonian voice. There you go. No. What do you have there? A letter and a package I'm supposed to deliver to him. Will he be back shortly? I don't believe so. Who gave you the package to deliver? My teacher at the college, Kima Warvim. He has a bad leg, so he asked me to bring these to his lordship. Actually, to tell you the truth, I was supposed to deliver them last night, but I was busy. Greetings, Sister Ray. We'll give the package to his lordship when we see him, yup. Ah, hail, Brothray! I had heard there was a handsome Argonian in Scathanood. Unfortunately, I promised Kima Warvim that I'd deliver the package directly to his lordship. Sans, I'm already late, I can't just— We're Imperial Guard, miss. We'll take the package and the letter. By the way, do you know how long this play is? Because it's going on for ages. And it's beginning to drag somewhat, because still nothing's really happened. No one knows. All right, let's carry on with the play. Let's go. Zolassa reluctantly hands Clavides the letter and the package. She turns to go. You're out of college if we need to see you? Huh? Yes. Fair tidings, Brothray. Good night, sister. Clavides opens the package as Zolassa exits. It's a book. Like this one. This is also a book. Just another example, just talking about books. There are many books in the world, and this is one. This is one that exists. It's called Lonelier Worlds. It's available on Amazon for 99 cents. And if you want to purchase it, there's a link in the description below. So do check that out. It is a book with many loose sheets. It appears we've found the missing book, delivered to our very hands. Clavides begins to read the book silently to himself. Ulis to himself, very pleased. Another Argonian and scared the nude, and a pretty one at that. I hope we weren't too rude to her. I'm tired of all these women with their smooth, wet skin. It would be wonderful if we could meet when I'm off duty. While Ulis talks, he opens the letter and reads it. She looks like she's from the south. Huh? Like me. You know, Argonians are from northern Black Marsh are much less. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Ulis continues reading, transfixed by the letter. Clavides skips to the back of the book. He skips to the back of the book and reads the last sentences. Clavides reading. In black ink, the Khajiiti male showed surprisingly little fortitude to a simple lightning spell. But I've had interesting physiological results with a medium-level acid spell cast slowly over several days. In red ink on the margins. Yes, I see. Was the acid spell cast uniformly over the entire body of the subject? In black ink. The Nord female was subjected to 16 hours of a frost spell, which eventually crystallized her into a state of suspended animation, from which she eventually retired. Retired? Not only retired, she also expired. In quick succession, she didn't have long to retire. She didn't get to claim her pension, because she retired and then expired in such quick succession. But there we go. Not so the Nord male, nor the Ashlander male, who lapsed into their comas much earlier, but then recovered. The Ashlander then tried to escape, but I restrained him. The Nord then had an interesting chemical overreaction to a simple fire spell and expired. Didn't retire, just expired. See the accompanying illustration. In red ink, yes, I see, the patterns of boils and lesions suggest some sort of internal incineration, perhaps caused by the combination. Perhaps caused by the combination, it's a musical now. Perhaps caused by the combination of a short burst of flame. Following a longer session with frost is such a shame. It's such a shame. I can't come to see the experiment personally, but I compliment you on your excellent notation. In black ink, thank you for the suggestion about slowly poisoning my maiden Nara. The dosages you've suggested have had fascinating results, eroding her memory very subtly. I intend to increase it. He intends to increase it exponentially. And see how long it is before she notices. How long is it gonna be? Will it be 5 minutes? Will it be 5 minutes? Might be more, might be more. Until she notices. Speaking of which, it is a pity that I haven't had any Argonian subjects, but the slave traders promised me some healthy specimens in the autumn. I should like to test their metabolism and its in comparison to elves and humans. It's my theory that a medium-level lightning spell cast in a continuous wave on an Argonian wouldn't be lethal for several hours at least, similar to my results with the Cyrodiilic female and, of course, the giant in red ink. It'd be a shame to wait until autumn to see. I don't know why I've suddenly turned into this accent, but I like it. It's very mysterious. Ulis reading the letter. In red ink, here is your Argonian. Please let me know the results. It's signed, Kima Warvim. By Kinnereth, this isn't necromancy. It's destruction. Kima Warvin and Kina Telvani Hordalf Xyr haven't been experimenting with death, but with the limits of magical torture. The letter isn't addressed to Kina Telvani Hordalf Xyr. It's addressed to Sedura Ilachia. It's addressed to someone else. His wife, do you think? Yachilla. That was the Telvani of the Xyr family, who I heard about in connection with the giant slaying. We'd best get the maid out of here. She'll need to go to a healer. Clavides wakes up Anara. She appears disoriented. What's happening? Who are you? Don't worry. Everything's going to be fine. We're going to take you to a healer. Do you need a coat, Yachilla? Thanks. No, I'm not cold. Anara/Yachilla stops. Ha! Realizing that she's been caught. Clavides and Ulis unsheathe their blades. You have black ink on your fingers, your ladyship. And when when you saw me and I saw you and we saw each other at the door, you thought I was the Argonian your friend Wortham sent over. That's why you said, not now, go away. You're much more observant than Inara. She never did understand what was happening, even when I tripled the poison spell and she expired, and what I observed a considerable agony. Actually, that's even better if I suddenly shift into an evil voice there, isn't it? You're much more observant than Inara. She never did understand what was happening, even when I tripled the poison spell and she expired in what I observed as considerable agony. What were you going to use on me first, lightning or fire? Lightning. I find fire to be too unpredictable. As she speaks, the flames in the torch extinguish. The stage is utterly dark. There is the sound of a struggle. Ka-cha! Oof! Ow! 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 No, not the elephant! Ow! Don't come at me with that piano! Dunk, 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 dunk. The chandelier's falling! Heck! Ah! Suddenly, a bolt of lightning flashes out. And there is silence. From the darkness, Anara Yachilla speaks. Fascinating. Lightning. That was fun. And there we go, as the curtain falls. The end. Hope you enjoyed. That was a laugh. You're all spooked, right? You found that really spooky. Very spooky story, right? You're all terrified. Very atmospheric, I think, was the vibe we were going for there. Drags a bit in the middle, but I love the ending. Great performance. Very critical review, Nuna. Sorry it's over, but I'm glad it happened. Fair. Very mystery science theatre. I think Plushie needs a hug to reassure him from the spookiness. It's okay, Plushian. It's alright. Don't worry, don't worry. It's fine. It's fine. You see, it was just me. I was just doing the voices. I was. Honestly, mate, it was just me. No one really threw a piano at an elephant when the lights went out. That was just me. I'm just full of nonsense, and that was all that was. It's okay. It's okay. Right, okay, more stories, then. Can't promise they'll all be quite the extravaganza that was. I'll put the candle back up there with little Lucy. Look, Plushie gets a candle. You can have several candles. I've got a couple more. Hang on. So you guys can see him when the lights are out. He gets like a little shrine. Little shrine to Plushie. I know you can't really see him. It's too dark still. But I don't want to put the... Righto. More stories then, Folkaroonies. Where are we going? Game with camera. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know what came over me there. I think I got rather into the reading. Good story, though. Have we gotten the surprise yet? Yes, the surprise was Plushian. Behind me. Over there. Here's the surprise. We opened him at the start of the stream. Right. Immortal Blood? Immortal Blood? We up for Immortal Blood? Yes? No? This one will be a serious one. This one will be properly spooky. The moons and stars were hidden from sight, making that particular quiet night especially dark. The town guard had to carry torches to make their rounds, but the man who came to call at my chapel carried no light with him. I came to learn that Morvarth Pequeen could see in the dark almost as well as the light. An excellent talent, considering his interests were exclusively nocturnal. One of my acolytes brought him to me, and from the look of him I at first thought he was in need of healing. He was pale to the point of opalescence, with a face that looked like it had once been very handsome, before some unspeakable suffering. The dark circles under his eyes bespoke exhaustion, but the eyes themselves were alert, intense, almost insane. He quickly dismissed my notion that he himself was ill, though he did want to discuss a specific disease. Vampirism, he said, and then paused at my quizzical look. I was told you were someone I should seek out for help understanding it. Who told you that? I asked with a smile. Tessina Grey. I immediately remembered her, a brave, beautiful knight who had needed my assistance separating fact from fiction on the subject of the vampire. It had been 2 years, and I had never heard whether my advice had proved effective. You've spoken to her? How is her ladyship? I asked. Dead, Morvarth replied coldly. And then, responding to my shock, he added to perhaps soften the blow. She said your advice was invaluable, at least for the one vampire. When last I talked to her, she was tracking another. It killed her. Then the advice I gave her was not enough, I sighed. Why do you think it would be enough for you? I was a teacher once myself, years ago, he said. Not in a university, a trainer in the Fighters Guild. But I know that if a student doesn't ask the right questions, the teacher cannot be responsible for his failure. I intend to ask you the right questions. And that he did. For hours he asked questions and I answered what I could. But he never volunteered any information about himself. He never smiled. He only studied me with those intense eyes of his, committing every word I said to memory. Finally, I turned the questioning around. You said you were a trainer at the Fighters Guild. Are you on an assignment for them? Nope, he said curtly, and finally I could detect some weariness in these feverish eyes of his. I would like to continue this tomorrow night, if I could. I need to get some sleep and absorb this. You sleep during the day, I smiled. To my surprise, he returned the smile, though it was more of a grimace. When tracking your prey, you adopt their habits. The next day he did return with more questions. These ones very specific. He wanted to know about the vampires of Eastern Skyrim. I told him about the most powerful tribe, the Volkihar, paranoid and cruel, whose very breath could freeze their victims' blood in the veins. I explained to him how they lived beneath the ice of remote and haunted lakes, never venturing into the world of men except to feed. Morvarth Pequeen listened carefully and asked more questions into the night, until at last he was ready to leave. I will not see you for a few days, he said, but I will return and tell you how helpful your information has been. True to his word, the man returned to my chapel shortly after midnight 4 days later. There was a fresh scar on his cheek, but he was smiling that grim but satisfied smile of his. Your advice helped me very much, he said, but you should know that the Volkihar have an additional ability you didn't mention. They can reach through the ice of their lakes without breaking it. It was quite a nasty surprise being grabbed from below without any warning. How remarkable, I said with a laugh. And terrifying. You're lucky you survived. I don't believe in luck. I believe in knowledge and training. Your information helped me, and my skill of melee combat sealed the bloodsucker's fate. I've never believed in weaponry of any kind. Too many unknowns. Even the best swordsmith has created a flawed blade. But you know what your body is capable of. I know I can land 1,000 blows without losing my balance, provided I get the first strike. The first strike, I murmured. So you must never be surprised. That's why I came to you, said Movarth. You know more than anyone alive about these monsters, and in all their cursed varieties across the land. Now you must tell me about the vampires of Northern Valenwood. I did as he asked, and once again his questions taxed my knowledge. There were many tribes to cover. The Bonsamu, who were indistinguishable from Bosma except when seen by candlelight. The Kirilth, who could disintegrate into mist. The Veketh, who swallowed men whole. The dread Telboth, who preyed on children, eventually taking their place in the family, waiting patiently for years before murdering them all in their unnatural hunger. Once again, he bade me farewell, promising to return in a few weeks, and once again he returned as he said, just after midnight. This time, Movarth had no fresh scars, but he again had new information. You were wrong about the Kirlith being unable to vaporize when pushed underwater, he said, patting my shoulder fondly. Fortunately, they cannot travel far in their mist form, and I was able to track it down. It must have surprised it fearfully. Your field knowledge is becoming impressive, I said. I should have had an acolyte like you decades ago. Now, tell me, he said, of the vampires of Cyrodiil. I told him what I could. There was but one tribe in Cyrodiil, a powerful clan who had ousted all other competitors. Much like the Imperials themselves had done, their true name was unknown, lost in history, but they were experts at concealment. If they kept themselves well fed, they were indistinguishable from living persons. They were cultured, more civilized than the vampires of the provinces, preferring to feed on victims while they were asleep, unaware. They will be difficult to surprise, Movarth frowned, but I will seek one out and tell you what I learn. And then you will tell me of the vampires of High Rock and Hammerfell and elsewhere and Blackmarsh and Morrowind and the Somerset Isles, yes? I nodded, knowing that this man was on an eternal quest. He wouldn't be satisfied with but the barest hint of how things were. He needed to know it all. He did not return for a month, and on the night he did, I could see his frustration and despair, though there were no lights burning in my chapel. I failed, he said, as I lit a candle. You were right, I could not find a single one. I brought the light up to my face and smiled. He was surprised, even stunned by the pallor of my flesh, the dark hunger in my ageless eyes, and the teeth. Oh yes. I think the teeth definitely surprised the man who could not afford to be surprised. I haven't fed in 72 hours, I explained, as I fell on him. He did not land the first blow, or the last. Chilling, right? It's good. Correct, Novablade. He dead. He dared. Shuffles off his mortal coil. He undared. He done got killed. Or he became a vampire thrall. No, I think he probably got dead. He got eaten. Okay, another story. What are we feeling like? What do we fancy from the list? Oh, you can kill him again in Skyrim, can you? Oh, that's fun. Yeah, what do we want? What do we want? The Night Mother's Truth, the Night Mother's Truth. Axeman, 2 votes for Night Mother's Truth, 1 vote for Axeman. That's a good point, Dwemercog. He should be sitting by the fireplace. I apologise, that was the intention and I forgot. There we go. That's more like it. Much more appropriate. Good shout. Ooh. Ooh. It's fun when I lean over the light more. Ooh. Right, okay. Let's go with... Let's go with Night Mother's Truth, then. I've not read this one before, so it's going to surprise me. The Night Mother's Truth by Gaston Belfort. Belfort. Gaston Belforte. No, The Night Mother's Truth by Gaston Belfort. Gaston Belfort. Gaston Belfort. Et hello, The Night Mother's Truth. La mère de la nuit. Avec le vrai. Par Gaston Belfort. Où est la bibliothèque? What is the bell for? It is to ring. You ring the bell, that's why the bell for. I do not understand the question. Okay. Read it all in the French accent. Okay, here we go. Although various works have been written on the subject of both Morrowind's Morag Tong and Tamriel's more widespread Dark Brotherhood, there remains confusion as to precisely when and how these two feared assassins' guilds formed, or more precisely when and how the Dark Brotherhood split from the Morag Tong, as the former is widely accepted to have sprung from the latter. The largest point of contention seems to be the figure of the Night Mother, a woman who figures prominently in both organisations. Through extensive research and interviews, and not inconsiderable risk to my own life, for the Dark Brotherhood holds this information sacred, I have finally solved this ages-old mystery. I have finally uncovered the Night Mother's truth. Although her name has been lost to time, the Night Mother was once a mere mortal, a woman who lived in a small village once located where the city of Bravel stands now, in the imperial province of Cyrodiil. She was a respected member of the Morag Tong, and like her fellow members, this woman made her trade as an assassin in service to the Daedric prince Mephala. In fact, the woman held the title of Night Mother, reserved for the highest-ranking female member of the organisation. To be Night Mother of a particular sect was to be that group's matron, the favoured of Mephala, both respected and feared. However, it was not Mephala who facilitated the transformation from woman to spectre, but another, some would say far deeper form of evil. Sithis, the Dreadlord, embodiment of the unending void. Following the Potentate, is that how you say that? Potentate's assassination in Second Era 324, strife descended upon the Morag Tong, and the guild was all but eradicated in Cyrodiil and much of the Empire. It was shortly after these events that the woman claimed to hear the voice of Sithis herself. The Dread Lord, she claimed, was displeased with the world and everything in it. He was unhappy with the Morag Tong's lack of success in bringing balance to the world. The Void, he told her, was hungry for souls, and it was her destiny to set things right. And so, according to Dark Brotherhood legend, Sithis visited the Night Mother in her bedchamber on more than one occasion and begat her 5 children. Years passed before the unthinkable happened. The woman followed through with the Dreadlord's plan. One night, she murdered her children and sent their souls straight to the void, straight to their father. When they learned of this affront to decency, the people of the village rallied against the woman, for such an act was considered incomprehensible, even for a Night Mother of the Morag Tong. In one night of vengeance, they descended upon the woman, killing her and burning down the house in which the atrocity took place. And that was the end of the story, or so everyone thought. A little more than 30 years later, an unnamed man heard a strange, comforting voice inside his very head, just as the Dunmer woman claimed to hear the voice of Sithis inside hers. The voice identified herself as the Night Mother, and named the man Listener, the first of many. And so the unholy matron set her servant on his path. He would found a new organisation, a guild of assassins known as the Dark Brotherhood, in service not to Mephala, but to the Dreadlord Sithis. The Morag Tong, now surviving only in Morrowind, was an artifact of a forgotten age. The Dark Brotherhood would marry business with death. The organisation would grow in wealth and power, and the void would swell with fresh souls. It was, the Night Mother told her listener, the perfect arrangement. In the early days of the Dark Brotherhood, the bodies of the Night Mother and her children were recovered from their original burial site and interred in a crypt beneath the site of her house, and there they remain, even today. So if, in your travels, you find yourself in the city of Bravel, and make a wish at the statue of the lucky old lady, as is the local custom, know that you stand on sacred, if evil ground. For you stand above the Night Mother herself, the unholy matron, and your luck has just run out. Here we are. Oh, heck, what's going on? Crumbs. Everything's broken. That's not what I wanted to happen. There we go. That's more like... Sorry about that. Oh, dear. There we go. We've got Lucien and Plushie. Isn't that adorable? I love it. That's so cute. Look at them. Oh, thanks for sharing that, Macon. And yeah, the fact that you were able to draw that so quickly is amazing. You're incredibly talented. I wish I could do that. Macon is speed. Pure speed. Speed incarnate. Amazing stuff. Thank you for sharing. Right. We're back in the game. What should we read now? So we're running out of time. We've got less than an hour left, so we're not going to be able to get through all of these. So, what would you like to read now? What would you like to hear? We've got A Kiss, Sweet Mother, A Tragedy in Black, Chance's Folly, Ghosts in the Storm, Legend of Krately House, Surfeit of Thieves, The Axeman, The Cabin in the Woods, The Exodus, The Wispmother, The Woodcutter's Wife, or Trap. The Woodcutter's Wife? The Woodcutter's Wife. We've got 2 votes for Woodcutter's Wife. 1 for Surfeit of Thieves. I don't know whether you say that Surfeit or Surfight. I am Surfeit of Camelot. I'm here to fight you, bro. Any other votes? Anyone else got any inclination? Tell you what, let's do a quick poll. We'll do a quick poll for those three options. Woodcutter's Wife, Surfeit of Thieves, Legend of Krately House. There we go. There's now a 1-minute poll running in the chat, which you should see at the top of the chat. You've got 3 options: Woodcutter's Wife, Surfeit of Thieves, or Legend of Krately House. You have 1 minute to vote. Usual rules about subscriber votes count for double. You can buy extra votes with bits and with channel points because it's nice to reward and give back to the people who've been supporting the channel. But yeah, there you go. Vote away. Take your pick. What would you like to hear next? Legend of Krately House currently winning. Up to 5 votes there. 6 votes there. That's becoming very popular. Woodcutter's Wife gaining with only 3 votes behind. Let's see. It looks like Legend's going to win. 6-4 now. 7-4. 7-5. About to end. I think we're going to have Legend of Krately House, and then maybe we can do Woodcutter's Wife next after that one. Yeah, there we go. And the poll hath ended. Hey, Tayson, welcome to the stream. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right with that. Right, back into spooky mode. Ooh, spooky. We're going to have Legends. The Legend of the Krately House. By Baloth Cool. This is another play. This one isn't going to be a comedy. This one I'm going to deliver as well as I can. I'm going to try and audio dramatize this. So, dramatis personae, we've got Theophan, an Imperial man, 24, a thief. Right, so he's going to be a bit like that. In it. Hello. Name's Theophan, here to nick all your stuff. We've got Nirim, a Bosma man, 20, also a thief. Theophan, I don't trust this. I'm in a bit of a hurry. I'm a bit worried about everything, a bit anxious, I think is how he's going to be. Kind of like that, maybe. Silenus Krately, an Imperial man, 51, a merchant. I feel like he's very languid in the way he talks. That's the thing I'm guessing here. I might change that. Dominisha Krately, his wife. Hello, my name's Dominisha. Aelva Krately, their daughter. I'll just give her a sort of slightly normal, slightly higher voice like that. And then we're going to go with Ministes Krately, their son. It was 11. All right. Hello. I'm going to do my best. Okay. The famous haunted Krately house in Cheydinhal. That I might be saying wrong. The famous haunted house in Cheydinhal. First and second floors requiring a stage with a second story where most of the action takes place. The stage is dark. There is a creaking noise. Footsteps on the stairs. The sound of a man breathing. But still we see nothing. Then a voice calls from above. Hello? Is there someone down there? Should I wake up Papa? No, maybe I was imagining it. A light from a lantern can be seen, coming from the upstairs, and the slim form of a beautiful young girl, Aelva, descends the staircase at stage right, nervously. From the light of the lantern, we can see that we are looking at the second floor of a dusty old house, with a set of stairs going up and another one going down on stage right. An unlit stone fireplace sits at stage left. A table, a locked chest, and a wardrobe complete the furnishings. Aelva, what are you doing? I'm just making certain. Go back to bed, Ministes. As the girl passes the table, we see... Now, let me try and remember... What was the voice for Ministes? Sorry, who was Ministes? Ministes is their son. Sorry, Ministes is the high-pitched little boy. That's it. Go back to bed, Ministes. As the girl passes the table, we see a bosman near him slide gracefully up from behind and around her field of sight, carefully avoiding the pool of light. She doesn't appear to see him as he creeps closer to her, his footsteps silent on the hard wooden floor. When he is almost on her, there is a sudden crash from down below. This causes the bosma to leap away, hiding again behind the table. The girl does not seem to notice the sound, and Nirim, peeking out from behind the table, watches her. Found anything? No, probably just my imagination, but I'm just going to check downstairs. Is there a fire? I'm cold. Aelva looks towards the long, dead fireplace, and so does Nirim. Of course there is. Can't you hear it crackling? I guess so. Aelva suddenly jumps as if she heard something which we do not. She turns her attention down the stairs to the first floor. Hello? Aelva, lantern ahead of her, begins the descent. She does not seem to notice as an Imperial, Theophon, carrying a big bag of loot and a lantern of his own, calmly walks up right past her. Excuse me, young lady, just robbing you. Aelva continues her slow, nervous walk downstairs, which we can now see thanks to her light. She looks around the low-ceilinged, thoroughly looted room as the action continues upstairs. Theophon's lantern provides the dim light for the second floor. Why are you hiding, Nirim? I told you, they can't see you and they can't hear you. Nirim sheepishly steps out from behind the table. I can't believe they're all ghosts. They seem so alive. That's what spooks them superstitions, but they ain't gonna hurt us. Just reliving the past the way ghosts do. The night they was murdered. Stop thinking about that or you'll get yourself all willy spooked. I got all kinds of stuff on the first floor. Silver candlesticks, silks, even some gold. What do you get? Nirim holds up his empty bag. Sorry, Theophon. I was just about to start. Get to work on that chest then. That's what you're here for. Oh yeah, I got the talent, you got the ideas and the equipment. You refilled the lantern before we came here, right? I can't work in the dark. Don't worry, Nirim. I promise. No surprises. Nirim jumps when a young boy, Ministes, appears on the stairs. The lad creeps down quietly and goes to the fire. He acts as if he's stoking a fire, feeding it wood, poking at the embers, though there is no wood, no poker, no fire. We got all the time in the world, friend. No one comes near this house. If they see our lantern light, they'll just assume it's the ghosts. Nirim begins picking the lock on a chest of drawers, while Theophon opens a wardrobe and begins going through the contents, which are mostly rotten cloth. Nirim is distracted, looking at the young boy. Hey, Theophon, how long ago did they die? About 5 years ago? Why are you asking? Just making conversation. As they talk, Aelva downstairs, finally having searched the small room, acts as if she's locking the front door. Didn't I already tell you the story? No, you just said, hey, I know a place we can burgle where no one's at home except for the ghosts. I thought you were joking. No joking, partner. 5 years ago, the Kratleys lived here. Nice people. You've seen the daughter Aelva and the boy Ministes. Their parents were Selinus and Dominica, if I remember rightly. Nirim successfully unlocks the chest and begins rummaging through it. While he does so, Ministes gets up from the fire, apparently warmed up, and stands at the top of the stairs down. Hey! The boy's voice causes Nirim, Theophon, and Aelva to all jump. Why aren't you in bed? I'm just going to check the cellar. I'll wait for you. So what happened? Oh, they was ripped to piece. Halfway eaten. No one ever knows who or what did neither. There was rumours. Aelva opens the door to the cellar and goes in. The light disappears from the first floor. Ministes patiently waits at the top of the stairs, humming a little song to himself. I'm not scared of the dead. They can't hurt me. What kind of rumours? Theophon, having exhausted the possibilities in the wardrobe, helps Nirim sort through the gold in the chest. Pretty good haul, eh? Oh, the rumours. Well, they says old Lady Dominica was a witch before she married Selinus. Gave it all up for him to be a good wife and mother. But the witches didn't take too kindly to it. They found her and sent some kind of creature here. Late at night. Something horrible. Right out of a nightmare. Aelva? Aelva, what's taking you so long? Ye gods! Are we going to watch them get killed right in front of us? Aelva? What's happening down there? Stop playing around, boy, and go to sleep. Papa! Ministes, frightened, runs to the stairs, up. Along the way, he bumps into Nirim, who falls down. The boy does not seem to notice, but continues on up to the dark third-floor sleeping porch off stage. Are you all right? Nirim jumps to his feet, white-faced. Never mind that! He touched me! How can a ghost touch me? Of course they can. Some, anyhow. You heard of guardian ancestor spirits guarding tombs and that ghost of the king they had in Daggerfall. If they don't touch you, what good are they? Why are you so surprised? You thought he'd move right through you, I figure. Yes! Selinus, the man of the house, comes down the stairs cautiously. Don't leave us alone, Selinus. We're coming with you. Wait, it's dark. Let me get some light. Selinus goes to the cold fireplace, sticks his hand forward, and suddenly, in his arm, there's a lit, burning torch. Nirim scrambles back, horrified. I felt that! I felt the heat of the fire! Come on down, it's all right! Ministes leads his mother, Dominica, down the stairs, where they join Selinus. I don't know why you so scared, Nirim. I must say, I'm disappointed. I didn't figure you for a superstition list. Theophon goes for the stairs up. Where are you going? One more floor to search. Can't we just go? Nirim watches as the family of three, following Selinus and his torch, walk down towards the first floor. Aelva? Say something, Aelva. There, you see, if you don't like ghosts, third floor is the place to be. All four of them are downstairs now. Theophon goes upstairs, off stage, but Nirim stands at the top of the stairs, looking down at the family. The three look around the first floor as Aelva did, finally turning towards the cellar door. All four? Selinus opens the cellar door. Aelva! What are you doing down in the cellar, girl? You see her? All four, Theophon? I think so. I see someone. Hello? What if there's 5 ghosts, Theophon? Selinus thrusts his torch in through the cellar door, and it is suddenly extinguished. The first floor falls into darkness. Ministes, Dominica, and Selinus scream. but we cannot see what is happening to them. Nirim is nearly hysterical, screaming along with them. Theophon runs downstairs from the 3rd floor. What is it? What if there's 5 ghosts? The man, the wife, the girl, the boy, and what killed them? And what killed them? And what if it's a ghost that can touch us too, just like the others? From the darkened 1st floor, there's a creak of a door opening, though we cannot see it. And then there is a heavy, clawed footfall. 1 step at a time, coming down the stairs. Don't get so upset. If it can touch us, what'd make you think it wants to? All the others didn't even notice we was here. Theophon's lantern dims slightly. He adjusts it carefully. Only what if it ain't a ghost, Theophon? What if it's the same creature, and it's still alive? And it ain't nothing since 5 years ago. The footsteps begin the slow, heavy stomp up the stairs. Though whatever it is, we cannot see it. Nirim notices the light beginning to dim from the lantern, despite Theophon frantically trying to fix it. You said you refilled the lamp! The light goes out entirely, and the stage is filled with darkness. You promised me you refilled the lamp! More footsteps, and a horrible, horrible howl. The men scream, "Ah!" The curtain falls. I liked that. That was a good story. Good little one. What did you guys make of it? You heard it before? What do you think, Plushian? Plushian liked it. Look at his smiley little face. He's loving it. I got the little hairs on the back of my neck when he said about the 4 ghosts. And then the 5. You know, and all that kind of what? I liked that. The edginess of it, kind of, it got me slightly kind of all on edge. It's good. Good story. I'm enjoying this. This is fun. I'm glad you like the candles. Oh, yeah, I've never read it before. So, right, let's do another one. We've got half an hour left. Hey, Nuna. Oh, yeah, Ninja's here. Hey, Ninja. Righto. So let's go for another one then. Let's go for another one. What can we find? What can we find? What can we find? What sort of spoopy stories have we got? There was a vote before for the Axeman or the Woodcutter's wife. Fancying either of those? And there was one for a Surfeit, however we say that, of Thieves. Woodcutter's wife. What are we thinking? Woodcutter's wife? Any votes for that? We want to do another poll. Let's go for Woodcutter's wife then, unless anyone else has got a request. No. Time be running out. Tick, 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 tick. Yeah, we're going with this one then. Okay. The Woodcutter's Wife, Volume 1. As told by Mogan, son of Molag. Hopefully not Baal. Legend tells of a woodcutter who built his shack deep within the pine forest. There he hoped to live in peace with his family. The woodcutter's family lived well for a time, but without warning, the weathers turned bitterly cold and spoiled the harvest. Before long, their meagre supply of food all but gone, the family was starving. Late one snowy night, a traveller knocked on the cabin door, seeking shelter from the biting cold. Always generous of heart, the woodcutter welcomed the stranger into his home, apologising that he had no food to offer. With a smile, the traveller cast off his cloak to reveal the garments of a mage. As the woodcutter and his family looked on, the mysterious visitor reached into his satchel and withdrew a scroll tied with a silver ribbon. No sooner had the wizard unfurled the scroll and read the words aloud when a great feast appeared from out of thin air. That night, nobody in the woodcutter's cabin went hungry. Day by day, the snow piled up. Every night, the mage produced another scroll from his bag and read the words, each time summoning a new feast. On the 5th night, the woodcutter's wife awoke her husband to confess her mistrust of their magical guest. Surely, she argued, there was some price to pay for the magical feast that everyone enjoyed night after night. The woodcutter would have none of it. After nearly dying from the lack of food, his family was eating well. The divines had sent them a gift, he explained, and it was foolish to question their wisdom. But the woodcutter's wife would not be persuaded. Every night she grew more fearful and more desperate. She was certain that the family had entered into a devil's bargain, and the time would soon come when the mage would ask for something unspeakable in return for his gifts. While everyone in the cabin slept, the woodcutter's wife snuck out of bed and took her husband's axe in hand. She crept into the traveller's room and with one swing, lopped off his head. Suddenly, the wizard's disembodied head awoke. His eyes opened wide, and when he beheld his maimed body, he let forth a terrible cry. Awakened by the horrified scream, the woodcutter and his children rushed into the room and gasped at the terrible sight of the decapitated mage. With his last gasp of breath, the traveller laid a fearful curse on the woodcutter's wife. After her mortal death, she was damned to rise once again and walk the woods alone, only to burn at the rising of the sun. To this day, those that walk the pine forest late at night tell tales of a weeping woman glimpsed between the trees. She carries a bloody axe, the stories say, and is terrifying to behold. That was a funny one. Not sure about that one. It seemed a bit abrupt. Everything was fine, and then suddenly someone chopped off someone's head and there was a vampire curse. I don't know. I don't like that one quite as much as some of the others. But, spoopy though. Always spoopy with a good decapitation. Yeah, Novablade's nailed it there. That's the plot summary. Food, yay, death. Okay. Another one? What do we think? What do we think? What do we think? Well, that was my thinking, most sovereign lady. This is what Lucien does with his friends. Or we've got 3 different... Oh, Cabin in the Woods is the sequel, is it? Oh, well, let's do the sequel then, while we've got that one fresh in our mind. The Cabin in the Woods. Volume 2. As told by Mogan, son of Molag. Late one night a few seasons ago, a soldier was returning home after several bloody battles. He decided he would save some gold and decided to cross the pine forest on foot. The first day of his journey was rather uneventful. The soldier stuck to the main path and kept a brisk pace. When it started getting dark, he set up his bedroll, built a small fire, and cooked up some rabbit he'd caught. A fine day indeed, he thought to himself as he fell asleep. Partway through the evening, the soldier was woken up by soft sobbing in the distance. He grabbed his sword, assuming it to be a bandit trick, but pretended to sleep so he could get the jump on them. After a few minutes, the sobbing started moving away from his camp until he could no longer hear it. For the rest of the night, he slept with one eye open. Day 2, the soldier awoke from what rotten sleep he could catch, and started off through the forest at a quicker pace, intending to put distance between himself and whatever he had heard last night. As the day went on, it began to rain heavy, so the soldier built himself a little shelter for the evening, so he could remain dry while he slept. It took him a little longer to fall asleep with thoughts of the previous night fresh in his mind, but he eventually slept. This time, he awoke to sobbing that sounded like it was right outside his shelter. The soldier grabbed his sword and crawled out of the shelter. In front of the fire, he saw the back of a ghostly woman, sobbing into her hands. The soldier mustered his courage and asked her what was wrong. No answer. He began to slowly approach, but before he could reach her, she turned and screamed at him. The ghostly woman raised an axe and began to run at the soldier. disappearing before she made contact. The soldier took off into the night with just his sword in hand. He ran until the first light of dawn, where he started down the road again as fast as he could move. The third day was bright and sunny, but the soldier, rattled and sleepless, didn't even notice. He moved as fast as he could, trying to get through the forest before nightfall. As darkness began to fall, he saw a cabin just off the road and thought to himself it would be a good place to hunker down for the night. After arriving at the cabin, he spent some time blocking the doors and windows. Nothing would get in. Despite his preparations, he could not sleep. He sat in what used to be the cabin's bedroom, staring at the barricaded door, shaking. Eventually, he could keep his eyes open no longer and fell asleep. This time, he awoke to laughing on the other side of the barricaded door. It sounded like the woman from before, but he refused to believe it was her. The soldier burst through the barricaded door into the main room to find the ghostly woman from the night before, staring at the ground, laughing hysterically with axe in hand. He began to relentlessly attack the ghostly woman, but he could feel his strikes were less effective. He used a scroll of firebolt, which drew a scream from her, and she exploded, disappearing. The ordeal was over. The ghost was gone. The soldier slept well that night, and the next day made excellent distance through the woods. As the sun began to set, he came out on the other side of the forest and looked back, remembering the days before. As he turned and started walking away from the woods, he could swear he heard the sobbing again. Spooky fingers wiggling. Well, that one was too easy, though, because he just hit her with a firebolt and she disappeared. You shouldn't be able to fight ghosts. The moment you can fight ghosts, they stop becoming scary. But it was alright. Thanks for the follow, one your boat, one your boy. I can't say that. Whatever your name is, thank you for following. Lovely of you to follow. Well, yeah, the scary part was that she wasn't gone, but meh. Right, okay. What was the other one you requested? Someone requested Wispmother? Wispmother? Any other suggestions? Wispmother and Axeman got asked for, and Surfeit of Thieves. Let's do another poll for it. Oopsie daisy. There we go. There's the poll. You've got to vote on it's Wispmother, Surfeit of Thieves, or the Axeman. Take your pick. Noona's got a spooky story. Are you ready? It was a dark and stormy night. Noona had pizza, and they had to wait until it was cool enough not to burn their mouth. So spoopy. That spooked me. What's winning the poll? Wispmother's winning the poll. But it's closer this time. 7 votes for Wispmother. Oh, what's your horror story, Macon? Macon's grades. Oh, gosh. Right. So Wispmother won. So that's what we're going with. The Wispmother. Two Theories. By Matthias Etienne. Among the folk tales from the northern reaches of Skyrim, few subjects are as popular as the Wispmother. Ghostly women who lure unsuspecting travellers to their doom, steal children, and take vengeance on those who wronged them in life. Similar tales exist throughout Tamriel. The Melusane of Stros Mackay, who lure ships to wreck on jagged shoals, then consume the souls of those aboard. The Serpentine Chalice of Black Marsh. The Amronal of Valenwood. But unlike these mythic creatures, most scholars concede that Wispmothers actually exist. Though rare, credible reports of their sightings are simply too frequent to be ignored. Herein, a synopsis of what can be gleaned from provincial legends and the dominant theories on what they may actually be. Wispmothers. Most tales agree on only a few basic facts about Wispmothers. They are always female. They take the form of human, some say elven spirits, wreathed in mist and decaying rags. They have an affinity for frost magic, rarely appearing in more temperate climes. But beyond that, the tales differ wildly. Some say they are ghosts waiting to be laid to rest. Others, that they are all that remains of the snow elves who once ruled Skyrim. Some say they are native to Hjalmarch, or the North more generally, but other tales mention them in forgotten places, on mountaintops as far away as the Gerals. Most reputable scholars dismiss these stories, preferring instead to focus on the few documented sightings from recent years. From these, two dominant theories have emerged. Based on his extensive research into necromancy and Cyrodiil's Aelid culture, Master Sadran Serethi posits that Wispmothers are a necrologic state, a type of lichdom developed by a now-forgotten First-Era culture. Under his theory, these are no mere ghosts, they are a cult of powerful sorceresses who achieved eternal life through undeath. Alternatively, Lidet Villiane of the Synod contends that Wispmothers are not undead at all, but rather elemental manifestations arising out of Nirn itself. By noting several similarities to Spriggans and Ice Wraiths, she contends that the Wispmothers are essentially elemental personifications of snow or mist, innately wielding the power of their element instead of manipulating it through conventional sorcery. Wisps. In most accounts, the victim is initially drawn to the Wispmother by glowing, ghostly lights. Although initially passive, these creatures later attack in tandem with her, distracting their victim and draining their energy. Popular legend holds that these are the spirits of the Wispmother's previous victims. These spirits strengthen her, so anyone hoping to destroy her must first release the souls of those she has killed. To scholars, this description immediately recalls the Will-o'-the-Wisp, a rare and dangerous swamp denizen of southern Tamriel. Oddly, Cyrodiilic legends invariably refer to wisps as lone predators, while these appear to exist in some sort of symbiotic relationship with others of their kind. Villiane argues that these wisps are subspecies of true wisps, scavengers that lure prey to the Wispmother and share in the psycho-ethereal energy released by her kills. As codependent scavengers, they most likely lack the formidable defences of their predatory cousins, rendering them far more vulnerable. Alternately, Serethi posits that these wisps are merely emanations or conjurations of the Wispmother and not free-living creatures. This is supported by one incident in which an adventurer reportedly killed a Wispmother directly, only to observe the remaining wisps immediately perish as well, though the source is considered highly unreliable. In summary, scholarly opinion about Wispmothers and wisps is sharply divided, and it is likely to remain so for some time, but all sources agree on one crucial point. These are highly dangerous foes, and should be avoided at all costs. Well, that was mainly a lore dump, but a spoopy lore dump, so we'll go with that. Cool, love the cover. It's a great cover, isn't it? So the other votes were for... What else did we have on the poll before? We had... It was the Axeman and the Surfeit of Thieves. So we'll go with... What's Ghosts in the Storm? No idea. Never read it. Any other votes, or we go with Surfeit of Thieves? Or Ghosts in the Storm? Or the Axeman? What are we thinking? What are you feeling? We've got about 10 minutes left, so we can only really do one more story. So this is going to be the final story. Surfeit, lots of people going for Surfeit. So, to be fair, the Taxman is very scary. Right, Surfeit it is. I don't know this one either. Ooh, lockpicking increased. Amazing. Lucien leveled up. Hey, Fish Fiend. Yeah, the surprise was Plushian. I'll show you in a minute after this story. This looks interesting, said Indic, his eyes narrowing to observe the black caravan making its way to the spires of the secluded castle. A gaudy alien coat of arms marked each carriage, the lacquer glistening in the light of the moons. Who do you suppose they are? They're obviously well off, smiled his partner, Harrier. Perhaps some new imperial cult dedicated to the acquisition of wealth? Go into town and find out what you can about the castle, said Indic. I'll see if I can learn anything about who these strangers are. We meet on this hill tomorrow night. Harrier had two great skills, picking locks and picking information. By dusk of the following day, she had returned to the hill. Indic joined her an hour later. The place is called Ald Olera, she explained. It dates back to the Second Era, when a collection of nobles built it to protect themselves during one of the epidemics. They didn't want any of the diseased masses to get into their midst and spread the plague, so they built up quite a sophisticated security system for the time. Of course, it's mostly fallen into ruin, but I have a good idea about what kind of locks and traps might still be operational. What did you find out? I wasn't nearly so successful, frowned Indic. No one seemed to have any idea about the group, even that they were here. I was about to give up, but at the Charterhouse I met a monk who said that his masters were a hermetic group called the Order of St. Iadnua. I talked to him for some time, this fellow name of Parathion, and it seemed they're having some sort of ritual feast tonight. Are they wealthy? Asked Harrier impatiently. Embarrassingly so, according to the fellow, but they're only at the castle for tonight. I have my picks on me, winked Harrier. Opportunity has smiled on us. She drew a diagram of the castle in the dirt. The main hall and kitchen were near the front gate, and the stables and secured armory were in the back. The thieves had a system that never failed. Harrier would find a way into the castle and collect as much loot as possible, while Indic provided the distraction. He waited until his partner had scaled the wall before rapping on the gate. Perhaps this time he would be a bard, or a lost adventurer. The details were the most fun to improvise. Harrier heard Indic talking to the woman who came to the gate, but she was too far away to hear the words exchanged. He was evidently successful. A moment later, she heard the door shut. The man had charm. She would give him that. Only a few of the traps and locks to the armory had been set. Undoubtedly, many of the keys had been lost to time. Whatever servants had been in charge of securing the Order's treasures had brought a few new locks to a fix. It took extra time to maneuver the intricate hasps and bulks of the new traps before proceeding to the old, but still working systems. But Harrier found her heart beating with anticipation. Whatever lay beyond the door, she thought, must be of sufficient value to merit such protection. When at last the door swung quietly open, the thief found her avaricious dreams paled to reality. A mountain of golden treasure, ancient relics glimmering with untapped magicka, weapons of matchless quality, gemstones the size of her fist, row after row of strange potions, and stacks of valuable documents and scrolls. She was so enthralled by the sight, she did not hear the man behind her approach. "You must be Lady Tressard," said the voice, and she jumped. It was a monk in a black hooded robe, intricately woven with silver and gold threads. For a moment she could not speak. This was the sort of encounter that Indic loved, but she could think to do nothing but nod her head with what she hoped looked like certainty. "I'm afraid I'm a little lost," she stammered. "I can see that," the man laughed. "That's the armory. I'll show you the way to the dining hall. We were afraid you weren't going to arrive. The feast is nearly over." Harrier followed the monk across the courtyard to the double doors leading to the dining hall. A robe identical to the one he was wearing hung on a hook outside, and he handed it to her with a knowing smile. She slipped it on. She mimicked him as she lowered the hood over her head and entered the hall. Torches illuminated the figures within around the large table. Each wore the uniform black robe that covered all features, and from the look of things, the feast was over. Empty plates, platters, and glasses filled every inch of the wood with only the faintest spots and dribbles of the food remaining. It was a breaking of a fast, it seemed. For a moment, Harrier stopped to think about poor, lost Lady Tressed, who had missed her opportunity for gluttony. The only unusual item on the table was its centerpiece, a huge golden hourglass which was on its last minute's worth of sand. Though each person looked alike, some were sleeping, some were chatting merrily to one another, and one was playing a lute. Indic's lute, she noticed. And then noticed Indic's ring on the man's finger. Harrier was suddenly grateful for the anonymity of the hood. Perhaps Indic would not realise that it was she and that she had blundered. "Tressed," said the young man to the assembled, who turned to her as one and burst into applause. The conscious members of the order arose to kiss her hand and introduce themselves. Nerdler, Sulek, Kyla, the names got stranger, Toniop, Hutlitz, Neuchtarab. She could not help laughing. "I understand it's all backwards. Your real names are Aldrin, Celius, Relic, Poinot, Stilith, Parathion." "Of course," said the young man. "Won't you have a seat?" "Say," giggled Harrier, getting into the spirit of the mask and taking an empty chair. "I suppose that when the hourglass runs out, the backwards names go back to normal?" "That's correct, Tressed," said the woman next to her. "It's just one of our order's little amusements." This castle seemed like the appropriately ironic venue for our feast, devised as it was to shun the plague victims who were, in their way, a walking dead. Harrier felt herself light-headed from the odour of the torches and bumped into the sleeping man next to her. He fell forward onto the table. "Poor Esriok Tisrif," said a neighbouring man, helping to prop the body up. "He's given us so much." Harrier stumbled to her feet and began walking uncertainly for the front gate. "Where are you going, Tressed?" asked one of the figures, his voice taking on an unpleasant, mocking quality. "My name isn't Tressed," she mumbled, gripping Indic's arm. "I'm sorry, partner, we need to go." The last crumb of sand fell in the hourglass as the man pulled back his hood. It was not Indic. It was not even human, but a scratched grotesquerie of a man, with hungry eyes and a wide mouth filled with tusk-like fangs. Harrier fell back into the chair of the figure they called Esriok Tisrif. His hood fell open, revealing the pallid, bloodless face of Indic. As she began to scream, they fell on her. In her last living moment, Harrier finally spelled Tressed backwards. Ooh, that one was spooky. I liked that. I liked that one a lot. Good suggestion, folks. That was really cool. Great stuff. Okay, one and all. It is 10 o'clock, nearly. So I think it's probably time for us to call it a night. So there we go. Here's the surprise from earlier, for those of you who didn't see. We have little Plushian made by the wonderful Anxious Stitcher sent to me, who I'm delighted to have. Wonderful. Nice chap. I'm going to keep him on the shelf, I think. I think he can sit in the background of all the streams in the future. I think that's nice. I'll need to remember to take him down, though, whenever I have, like, any meetings or Zooms or official call things, though, really. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. This was really good fun. I love doing this. Maybe we can do more reading of some kind at some point, since you guys seem to enjoy it. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I'll be back on Monday for Multiplayer Monday. Be playing some more games. Do come along and play. Always good fun to play with you guys. So I'll be doing that on Monday. Then, of course, Thursday, carrying on working on Lucien version 1.6.0, which I'm still hoping to have ready for next month. Not for next month, sometime next month. I'm hoping to have that ready and out, so you guys can look forward to that. Yeah. Lovely to have you all here. thanks a bunch for being a wonderful audience. Have a great rest of your Halloween, Samhain, spook evening, start of November, end of October, whatever you happen to celebrate or don't celebrate. Hope you have a great rest of your day, great evening. Stay safe. Do stay safe. Make sure to do that. Stay marvellous. And yeah, see you all again really soon. Bye-bye.